What's going on, Caspians? Welcome to this chat. Right now, the entire market's seen some monstrous upside growth. Meanwhile, Kaspa has been putting around ever since the KRC20 inscription launch. Now, to the untrained investor, this looks like there might be some weakness. They're sensing some risk in the environment. But as the trained eye zooms out, as we're going to detail in this picture, the Kaspa team is very cleverly got this crescendo hard fork. And a lot of this delay and upside undoubtedly is coming from Michael Sutton's work with the 10 BPS. Right now, Kaspa's monstrously ahead of schedule. And we're going to get into all the details of how ingenious it was for the KaspDEX to launch the inscriptions way ahead of the run-up phase. And we're going to compare the different phases of bull runs for other layer one coins historically, including Solana, which Kaspa, they go hand in hand, head to head. Kaspa is going to absorb a majority of Solana's stable coin liquidity, as this diagram shows. These are a lot of the power players that involve. We've got Visa, BlackRock. Remember in the prior live streams, we keep showing who owns Marathon Digital right here. BlackRock, Jane Street, those are the big dogs. Those are the VC players. They're the investment banking class. They work hand in hand with the central banks. So meanwhile, we're saying, wow, Kaspa hasn't moved up recently. But as we look at when the crescendo is set to launch and we zoom out and start taking into account central banking, how many of us watch financial TV today? Does everybody know what went down? That's right, the jobs report. And now the market's digesting that data. This is all tied in with rate cuts, Satoshi's secret, and incorporating it into our crypto trading and overall understanding gives us massive insight into what the teams are planning on when the price is going to start to really rocket. To show how ahead of schedule we are, we can see this as clear as day in AVAX. And this will tie in for anybody who's just jumping on board. What are we talking about with incorporating the jobs data? What are we talking about with incorporating economics into our trading? This is all part of Satoshi's secret. This is another reason why we need to have a VIP, because we can't take every video explaining the basics of macroeconomics effect on crypto. That lesson alone is hours long. You can go to college for 8 years on that. And we definitely need to incorporate that into our crypto trading. One of the reasons why social media, altcoin daily, crypto banter often makes misses is because the last cycle's liquidity was so bull on. And we're going to get into that as we start looking into the crescendo update, which is set to take place early in Q1. So we're talking January, February. That's when the 10 BPS will finally go down. Right now, we're still operating at 1 BPS. Just to get everybody up to speed, this is the bond market. So what was happening today with the updated jobs data, the stock market and crypto had a bullish reaction as jobs seem to be more stable. The key is that's all tied to rate cuts. Remember this massive breakout that we just had starting on September 18th? That was all because of and anticipation of rate cuts. What that boils down to is this is the government's DeFi liquidity bubble. As they're doing quantitative easing, they need to control that, controlling inflation by holding all the money. They're playing banker in monopoly. As they cut rates, this money, they're queuing the investment banker class to put this money back on the street and stimulate the economy, etc. This is part of the global liquidity cycle. It's part of Satoshi's genius. He incorporated the Bitcoin halving with this 4 to 5 year global liquidity as they're controlling inflation, bringing money into central bank control and then back out on the street to stimulate the economy. This is the fiat system 101. So we're looking at this bubble getting pushed onto the street with rate cuts, which is getting everybody excited. As I said before, this is one of the reasons why we have to have a VIP, because this rabbit hole goes extremely deep.
I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
We'll also, after we explain the crescendo and the 10 BPS upgrade, how it's going to affect, and we look and explore into what's building on Kaspa, we'll actually jump into VIP, because something's going on inside VIP that has me perplexed. All of our watch list picks, all of the picks that we filled out 24-point reports on, this is one of them right here for DEAI. It's like a 9-page report going into every detail. They're all skyrocketing, which is part of how we select them. We're looking for ones that have strong ties to the bond market, as Kaspa does, as we'll detail when we go through the crescendo unlock, timing this overall global liquidity with when the technology releases. Obviously, when Jonathan drops smart contracts, he's not going to want to do that in a bearish time frame. And they'll hone in on when to launch smart contracts based on tracking the money. Following the money is an art we teach in VIP. We'll look at one of our picks specifically, DEAI 01 Labs, which has been rocketing. It was at 15, 16 cents. It's almost tripled up, and it's not losing any ground. It's really beefing up. So that's one of our gem picks, and we have other ones in the AI sector. So getting back on task with Kaspa. The crescendo hard fork, they're working on it right now. Super technical stuff. It's going to take a few months to implement. They're rolling it out soon. But what just happened was the KRC20 inscriptions. And this opened the door for growth on Kaspa. Right now, boom, they're working on KaspDEX. This is going to be a decentralized exchange so everybody can swap their Kaspa on it, sort of like a Uniswap. Here's the thing. This is how ahead of the schedule we are. The reason why we needed to show that bond chart is right before we compare to AVAX. Notice this. February 20th. Returning viewers see this a lot. This is a very simple concept to digest. This is when the Feds cut the rates, forcing the liquidity out of the bond market into risk-on assets. February 20th, 2020. This is the run-up date. Bitcoin had hit 60,000. Altcoins take a longer time to develop. That's 1 year later after they cut the rates. We were just looking at the 1-year treasury bonds. So in 1 year, that liquidity hits the street. Now, here's the catch-up with AVAX and why Kaspa is light years ahead of the curve, which is going to lead to a monster run-up as well as a big distribution phase. So they get this liquidity injection, and this allows the teams to start growing and building on chain. It wasn't until around here that AVAX started developing Trader Joe, which is a very similar type of exchange to KaspDEX. But they needed the liquidity injection to get there and start developing. Then, as the bull market starts kicking off, you got all kinds of projects running on AVAX. When the bull market starts, it's going to change everything. They have plug-and-play miners, NFTs, where you get a souvenir that you bought it like this, that's showing that you're mining just on chain. You don't even need to plug anything in, but they'll give you a souvenir to make you feel like you're technical. The whole bull market's going to completely reshape, and projects are getting built on top of the investments that we're getting right now. And people are going to be ultimately looking for gains. They're not going to be naive. They're not going to buy Bitcoin at 150,000, 200,000. They're going to roll in and look for new listings, a new idea. like something that would be on Trader Joe on AVAX. There were loads of these DeFi type of staking projects, etc. A lot of them last cycle were incorporated with Ponzi-nomics. There's new regulations from the White House. This bull market's going to be all about artificial intelligence. So the KRC20 launch has already put us light years ahead. And what was just happening, the reason why Kaspa won't pump, this really comes down to the fundamentals of what's going on the macroeconomic scale. As Powell went up there on September 18th, got on TV and started saying, yep, we're going to cut the rates 50 basis points. What he's showing there is they're trying to stimulate the economy. Before the jobs market starts to go down, before everything gets out of whack, they want to push this bubble, which they've invited investment bankers like Jane Street and BlackRock into. They just invite these guys to put their money in the government's DeFi bubble by raising rates. When they start to lower it, they're now stimulating the economy. These guys work hand in hand, Batman and Robin. The investment banking class will follow the central bank's cues. They're teaming up on this, ultimately. So Kaspa's way ahead of the curve. Instead of having to develop and build your tools like the KaspDEX exchange, we've already got it up and running. And this is great. And it's going to allow for more of these top of the pyramid, if you will, projects that are going to be happening in the bull run, attracting new investors. This is an excellent resource to explore everything that's going on in the Kaspa ecosystem right now. So they have all these centralized exchange listings. They have all the wallets. They have these varied explorers. They have these KRC20 protocols. This one's called Piano, where you can start looking over the different bonds. Now we're going to make a comparison and start building a model based on Solana's recent upside. As you guys know, these Solana meme coins recently becoming very popular. What's behind this is Solana's now doing 2 smart contracts. Last cycle, they did native smart contracts running on chain. Just last spring, I want to say March off the top of my head, Solana opened up right before their breakout. They're still down at $30, $40. They're connected to the Ethereum virtual machine, which is going to allow way more teams and way more coders to start building on there. Solana's opening the door for Kaspa. Inside of our 24-point vetting system, obviously one of the things we want to check for is what code is the project written in, as well as exploring on the GitHub to see what class of coders are working, where they've been from, etc. Rust, getting into the history of crypto, was always the alpha coding language for on-chain building. The issue is most people don't know how to use Rust because crypto was never in the big leagues. Crypto now is big time. People are going to college just to learn how to code on crypto, learn how to build on Rust. And Solana's already opened the door, created veteran coders that can immediately jump over and build on chain with Kaspa, which is huge. Solana opening the door, they're trailblazing, but Kaspa, they're right on their heels. And as soon as the crescendo takes place, with all these DEXs getting ready to open up, Kaspa is ready to take Solana by the throat and take them down. Let's take a look at the activity that they're getting on chains. It does seem like that, doesn't it, Brad Pitt? This is the thing. Launching right now, in terms of macroeconomics, people in VIP understand this concept because we could do a completely separate video in it. I'll give you 60, 90-second update. Every time we cut rates, and this isn't just in crypto, this is in the history of every rate cut. This was the first rate cut, Mr. Pitt, right here on Bitcoin. We got a rally and then downside. They continued hacking away at rates, and it kept leading to more sell-offs until here. And then we finally got kicking off, and then there was, of course, lockdowns. Total 3 looks the exact same. It's sell-offs after rate cuts. You look historically before crypto into the stock market, it's the fundamentals of economics. And the reason that this isn't commonly used in crypto social media, but it is in the stock market, you start watching stock market videos, they're all like, oh yeah, Powell said that the unemployment fell to 4.1, the non-farmer rate is this, the wage growth is here, and they're using in-depth calculations to project the future of where this money's going, to figure out whether they're long or short, they're going to buy now or they're going to buy later. Interesting fact, remember this date we pulled up in the beginning, Pit? February 20th, GameStop peak, Tesla peak, Lemonade, all the stocks peaked right then too. This is actually Roaring Kitty, the GameStop phenomenon. I was in his VIP group, trading stocks, chatting with him. This is actually part of his insight as well. As the bonds unlocked, they flow into risk-on assets. It's the global liquidity. Of course, they don't put that in GameStop, the movie. They just talked about the short. Of course, they don't talk about that with Bitcoin. They only speak on the halving, restricting the supply. This is the underground. This is what's really going on. This is tracking the upper echelon of money. And in VIP, we go into the depth of actually accounting for it, finding the auctions, dollar amounts, exact dates to locate when everything's going to pivot to the downside. An example of this in application, on August 28th, there was a bond auction. We recognized it, realized everything would go to the downside, hit the nail on the head. Now we had another bond auction, which we had dated to September 28th. In fact, there were more auctions lasting all the way up to October 3rd. So we almost misdated this calculation, but ultimately got it right. And the downside starts September 29th. Boom. Bond auctions. You see, you can actually follow the money in detail, which is part of what we train people to do inside VIP. This is next level stuff. By the way, you're talking to the granddaddy of Kaspa all-in content. First guy on all of social media to go all in on Kaspa. Next up was Crypto Galaxy. Back when we were originally talking about it, it was just me and CG. That's why even though we have two completely different trading styles, I prefer to do research and I'm leaning into AI because of all the information and data. CG does meme coins. But we have a camaraderie because we were both battling. All of social media was against Kaspa. They were saying, it's too late. You should have bought it at 1/4 of a cent. It's never going up. It's never going to break, 2 cents or whatever. It's going to crash. It's going to be nothing. It's worthless. The ASICs are going to dump the price. All over social media. And it was just us and Kaspa Silver, who's not really a trader. He's more of a coder who understands the project. We were battling all of social media. And now it's totally picked up. It's become super popular. So the tools on Kaspa. They're already starting to build and grow quite a bit. There was something for Kaspa. Here we go. There's a poker club that's getting played on Kaspa right now, which is something obviously I'm interested in doing. So they're just getting warmed up. And here's the thing, like we just talked about, we're way ahead of schedule. So the whole reason, to just sum this up, Mr. Pitt, is the team, it may be more coincidental, it may be intentional. Just like the KRC20 inscriptions happened side by side with that FOMC meeting, that was without a doubt intentional, because the message that they're saying there, and this is digested incorrectly by retail, we think, oh, the KRC20 is going on, price is going up, that's why they're listing it. No. They're saying, hey, now that the bond rates are going down, invest in Kaspa. And they're saying that to Jane and Jump Street, BlackRock. These guys all have their finger on the pulse of Kaspa from the Marathon Digital earnings. Undoubtedly. We're looking at KasBay here. .org has links to a bunch of stuff Kaspa related. And it's growing super fast right now. And we're way ahead of the schedule. Of course, they have listed on here the KII. So compared to, if we were to muster up in terms of dollar amount, the strength of all the partnerships that are involved here with KaspDEX, Rhubarb Media, Ice River, OKX Exchange, they all make up KaspDEX. The KII overpowers all of them. And that brings us into the next point. So first we've got the Kaspa DEXs. Those are key so everybody can swamp. And that opens the door to stable coins on chain. Here's the big kicker. The tokenization of carbon credits. Now, we broke this story, but it's been picked up across social media. Kaspa and the tokenization of carbon credits. This is a $400 billion market. Just to put that in comparison, that's the size of Ethereum. The issue is, it's an illiquid market, meaning Tesla has to spend all this money to be climate compliant. Now they get their carbon credits and nobody's buying them. Obviously, BlackRock, who's got their hand in the cookie jar with these climate control regulations, they're interested in making sure that people that are complying with the climate change are rewarded monetarily. And by opening up carbon credits to retail investors for DeFi staking, trading, they're even talking about hooking them up to GameFi. They've now created more liquidity in the market as they can continue to build and develop using the blockchain to track how much pollution and energy companies are using is going to be next level by itself. Thanks, Cody. Cody's taking over. He's the moderator, stepped up inside of the Discord. So shout out to Cody, and you can send him a message on there if you have any questions about Discord. He'll hook you up. Yeah, and Kaspa is going to pump super hard on the crescendo. Right now, we're almost looking at a time delay, if you will, a time delayed breakout, which will happen on much more technical catalysts. Another huge catalyst is, of course, smart contracts. Once they release smart contracts, Kaspa's going to go through the moon. Why? That's the thing. Here's why. These guys, the top of the field, they don't throw darts. They bet on sure things.
I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
So right now, the reason why we saw so much upside in the overall artificial intelligence markets was based on the fact that the Fed, they just came out and they decided, yes, we're going to be cutting rates, a whole rate cut cycle. The jobs data may have toned that down a bit, but on top of it, they're planning on holding rates down. This has definitely to do with the crescendo unlock and timing. As we can see right here, this is the federal funds rate, and they're planning on, they've adjusted it to going lower from their last projections, and they're planning on holding it down longer into 2027. How does that play out on the charts? Well, that means that we get a longer period of distribution. In the last meeting, there was a press interviewer who was like, yeah, this is the generation that understands free money. That's why a lot of social media, in my opinion, isn't correlating these basic economic principles into their crypto trading because they already made millions of dollars on the last cycle. And the monetary policy was just in super turbo mode. They're printing money. The interest rates are at 0 for a year. Therefore, it's just warp speed, Captain Zulu. This market is going to be way different. They're not even going to bring him down to 0, quite possibly. It'll just get down to like maybe 2.5, 3, and then they're going to hold it there. And this will tell us exactly when the bull run's over, too. 2 a day to $1. Check this out, right? December 2021, they start jacking rates up. Keep that number in mind, that date. And then Wednesday, June 15th, that's when it's all over. Looking at the Bitcoin chart, December 2021, right? This is when it starts right here. Just when the Fed starts talking about raising rates, they start squeaking it up 25 basis points. That's the signal to the investment banking class. Get your money back into the central banks. Party's over. And then look at this, the exact bottom, June 17th, correlating with that local swing high. All the dates completely line up. Now, this was a very clear-cut bond chart to correlate to crypto and stock price. This year, it's going to be different. So it's going to be way more technical playing forward, figuring out when the peaks are and when the market's over. Hopefully, they give us a long distribution channel and they don't mess with the rates in the middle. Imagine if they did like a rate fake out, right? Like they raise it 25 basis points and then lower it 50 at the next meeting. Something like that. They could do all kinds of tricks. But understanding this is key. Key to maximizing buying on the low. What's going on with Kaspa and the crescendo, as well as selling the top. This is crypto investing 101. Hands down. We barely even, this is the thing that's interesting is, so we barely even touched, no, these wicks match inside of the Kaspa leverage trading plans. When we scroll back to our hypothesis, so we had always recognized that because of the fundamentals of what's going on inside VIP, Kaspa was going to come down and touch this line. And we knew it when it was back here, all the way at like 16 cents, that it would run up, find this resistance, and then turn around and retrace. Always recognize that. We can see other examples here of the Kaspa retrace back to this line. Now there's more data coming out. Here's the one where we said, and this what we're looking at right here, this is the repeating trend line system. Crypto's totally different than the stock market because of the emission and halving schedule sends ripples through the chart every 4 years on Bitcoin. Everybody recognizes that from the halving. When we zoom in, this actually takes place on a much more detailed scale. Being aware of these repeating trend lines gives us massive insight. Like, look at that. What are the odds that we would make a prediction precisely over and over again with Kaspa, like bouncing off this line and coming back to this one? That prediction came out on September 11th, right? Came out right here. Bounce off this line, come back to this one. Next level technical analysis, the repeating trend line system. This is why we have to have a VIP friendly price already $47 because there's so much back stuff on every video just to get everybody up to speed. So yeah, as this continues to roll out and the fundamentals get digested, in order for Kaspa to be clear to break out, it has to cross this gravitational field. And we have, as of now, we have not made a lower low. That is a no. Although we did get more lower consolidation here at 14.2. Before it was just a wick. So. It's coming soon. They don't have the details. This is a good article. I'll link it in the chat. This is top projects on Kaspa that are coming out. Kaspa Pay. This is going to be key. KaspDEX, block print. It's all good stuff. All on the horizon. And we're way ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule. And this is going to be good for the run-up phase. Kaspa being so strongly connected to the bond markets, as this money gets pushed out onto the street, it goes right into Kaspa's hand. And yes, we missed this round, but we've gotten more than our fair share, pigging out bullishly, historically. See these correlations here? FOMC meeting. This was when we first pulled the trigger all in. Why? It was back here. We had planned this whole channel out, waiting, knowing the global liquidity cycle, the 3 phases of crypto, including the sell-off, knowing that these rates were still increasing and the Fed was going to raise the rates again. We knew we wouldn't start buying crypto until the final rate hike happened, and that took place on May 5th. So about 90 days before that, we start uploading. May 5th comes around. It's an FOMC meeting. Crypto banter. Altcoin Daily, they're going, it's altcoin season. These are all our picks. You got to load up. And we're literally shorting their picks. Everybody in the comment was like, son, you are about to get wrecked. Fast forward 45 days. What actually happened is Jane Street dumped all of their Robinhood holdings. Look at these dates. This is showing the connection to macroeconomics on Kaspa. This is a huge signal. This is why something from the sci-fi realm is happening inside VIP, because all of our picks, we picked 3 projects. They're in the top 100 post FOMC of gainers out of 10,000 picks. We're talking about some kind of sci-fi level. Of course, we use AI, and that's what we teach. So it's like we've got the smartest guy in the room. Isn't me. It's AI. And AI helps us hand in hand with everything. Anyway, so we short on May 5th. And what we do is we're like loading into it. So we start out with a big chunk of change, and then as it picks up action, we're making profit now. We just pig pile the whole bankroll in. So we've got $12,500 short, and by the time we had it all in there, we could only break even, you know, because you can do stop losses and stuff. And we had been shorting Quant and some other picks on the way up here, so we had a little buffer. So while that does seem like an insanely risky move, it would have only maybe cost us 15-20%, and we wanted to double that up before we went long. So we ended up getting like $32,000 from 12,500 on the shorts when we cash out. This is what happened right there, June 1st, to this bloodbath. And that was a bloodbath, that giant wick down. Kaspa's going sideways and upwards. And so the hypothesis is, right then, we're saying there's a connection to Kaspa, to the bond market. There's some big players buying Kaspa right now. In hindsight, looking back, that hypothesis is proven correct because Marathon Digital starts buying right around, or starts mining right around here. Therefore, we know if they actually plugged the ASICs in September, they had reports of their own on Kaspa. And without a doubt, it was them. That's what we saw. That's why we went all in on Kaspa. We're coming over from Wall Street bets. We originally have much more experienced day trading stocks, although we were part of the last crypto bull market cycle. But our big play was actually GameStop. Believe it or not, we had GameStop tickets. This is an add-on that we made 10 days before GameStop went rocketing to the moon. We originally bought in during the earnings call, and we joined Roaring Kitty's group as we were already all in on GameStop, and we found he was a big advocate of it. We wanted to talk to him. And he started laying in more details, which ultimately were just Satoshi's secret about how the bond rates affect everything, and with these shorts, as these bond unlocks, and as you really break down the GameStop phenomenon, they say, oh, it was retail. Retail did it. Retail was in on there. but it was also market makers. And they put Melvin Capital in a full-blown wedgie. He got a Melvin himself, and they put him out of business. Sorry, buddy. He wasn't thinking too clearly. Shorting as this bond market tremendously unlocked. Yes, as the entire market does, as we've got a hot minute until the total 3 is projected to break out. See, we've got these two gigantic falling wedges. These are the exact same two. Getting back to that repeating trendline system only happens in crypto, does not happen in the stock market. We've got these two identical falling wedge patterns. They're the exact same two trend lines put together that we were using as that May 3rd. Combining fundamentals with technical analysis, it's how you've got to do it. There's a lot of talented charters in crypto that just do naked TA. And it kind of upsets me because what you really want to do is build both sides of the package. You want to have the technical analysis, right? This is a head and shoulder pattern. We're saying it's bearish. And then we're backing that up with fundamentals. And I think that the missing piece is for a lot of people is their idea of fundamentals is more what's on the 24-point checklist and the 84 questions that you can cut, copy, paste into AI when you're ready to see how far the rabbit hole really goes. Let's say you want to become a master in DeFi tokens, the aerodromes, KaspDEX, things like along this line. Research a bunch of them with the 84 questions. You could even just hone in on the tokenomics questions, which is probably what I would do in that niche, and start comparing projects side by side. That's how we came up with the 3 AI picks that were in the top 100 post FOMC. Now, one of them didn't make it all the way through. I got the don't buy alert because this tool is so good. We found originally, like, you're vetting projects, right? You got a list of 20 as you're just scanning generally, and then you hone it down. This one made it all the way to the point where we started writing a report on it. But as this tool was applied, it pulled up so many details. We were like, wait a minute, this is a no buy. Because the team did such a good job at hiding the weakness of the project that we had to just dig in there with a fine microscope and then fine tooth comb. And then we were like, we got it. We found the flaw and it's big. That was for Blender, by the way, which is a plug and play. It can see a lot of upside, absolutely. But when you really break down the fundamentals of Blender and plug and plays, that's for people who are coming in late. And you guys will see it's going to be a real treat to be this early in crypto to see how the bull run changes in dynamics, which is getting us closer to the artificial intelligence side of it. Let's take a look at DEAI. So this is one of our 24-point reports. We had a recent post about it getting a new exchange when it was back here at like 15, 16 cents. And since the FOMC meeting, and there's also a lot of development happening on chain. We're looking at the Twitter. Let's zoom in here. Next week will be big. You're talking about a new exchange listings, testnet, more roadmaps, and a tier 1 partnership. So if everybody's sitting on the side, they've got $5,000 or more, and they're looking to build artificial intelligent bags right now, we've got the best projects in 24-point report. The best projects being DEAI and Spectral, which is a polychain capital AI pick. Both of them, as soon as the banking class got word that the bull run was on, verifying that the rates will stay low for an extended period of time, that the money will be on the street, allowing for growth, creating distribution, they started pigging out on AI. And part of that has to do with the new White House regulation, which took place during the last cycle. They're trying to stop the Ponzi-nomics, which don't happen on the layer 1 chains, but they happen with the teams as they're building their little goofy projects on top. An example of what's to come looking forward. This is a great tool to use CryptoRank.com, and often we just look at stuff that's opening right now, that's already up. Something that we do inside VIP is we look for what's coming later, especially in GameFi. So I spent over 60 manpower hours. I kept track after the first day in detail, combing through every unlisted new IDO up and coming. And we'll take a look at this section in a moment. GameFi project, looking for the next Heroes of Mavia, looking for the ultimate gem. And we found it. And there's a full 24-point report on it. Not only is the game epic, the gamers are super excited for it, it's also got the biggest and strongest connections to Apple in the Apple Play Store that I've ever seen. And so if you guys want to become an expert in, let's say, GameFi, you get your hands on the 24-point checklist, watch the instruction video on how to operate it. There's also 84 questions that you cut, copy, paste into AI. Do not use Google. You're using either Super Chat GPT. Down here on the bottom is all the fundamental stuff, or Agent GPT. And we have websites to use listed with the 24-point report printouts. You get a lot of printouts because, as you guys have probably heard, keeping a trading journal and staying organized helps you huge. You have all kinds of back reference that you can look at. You're also getting a copy of a trading journal here, mapping the Kaspa breakouts from the prior downward repeating X axis. Remember that X file stuff we were talking about? Look at this golden trend line. Repeating, started here, goes here, here. It's the same exact trend line here. And so by placing that trend line on the August peak, we knew with confidence way back here that the price would eventually bounce off it and come back to the golden line. And that's using the Wyckoff breakout system with it. So all of back here, we got all these trading plans. Buy cold storage at 11.5. Open leverage trades at 12.25 with 10x leverage. So low, so juicy, they survived the BOJ carry trade. If you buy a book on technical analysis, the patterns are all from last cycle at best. We've got all the patterns that just happened. That's the BOJ head and shoulders. With the stats, Kaspa's constantly making these head and shoulders. See this? And this is all psychology. It's not geometry or mathematics. It's showing buyers are in control. Buyers make a new high. Buyers are failing, and it often makes this double top as the head. Buyers are failing to make a new high. Sellers have control on the right shoulder, and now it's downside. Recognizing that, we realized trouble was on the horizon and put a stop loss in on our Kaspa leverage trades. All the trading plans are just an active lesson that's connecting to the rest of the VIP collection, whether it's macroeconomic bond action or it's classical patterns or both. We don't do naked TA. It's all combined together. So DEAI is something that we have this research on, and it looks like it's going to not have a step back. It may continue just rocketing to the upside, which is wow. Good project and has a lot of structural foundation on it. Yes, patience is a virtue, absolutely. And as long as we know what's going on, both with the Kaspa team and its correlation to macroeconomics, it puts us at ease. And while we have this time, it's on our hands, it's best to use it applying into research, researching everything, the bond auctions that we pulled up. These rabbit holes go extremely deep. Excellent question. Taking profit based on the knowledge that we have and what we just went over with the 3 phases of the bull market. So what we're really trying to watch out for is a blow off top. And a blow off top will look like, from a macroeconomic standpoint, the FOMC all of a sudden The bond money's hitting the street. We're getting liquidity from these rate cuts. So this will take place, as you hear, Bitcoin halving 500 to 550 days after the halving. That's when Bitcoin goes up. Guess what? A year after the rate cuts, that's when the bond money starts really hitting the market. And you can see this on stocks and crypto, as GameStop peaked directly with Bitcoin, following the money here. During the run-up, that's the real question. How much profit should we take in the run-up, knowing that Kaspa is going to have a really big leg up during the distribution phase? I'm considering, depending on how high the run-up gets, taking 15-20% off right there, potentially reinvesting it back in Kaspa if there's a big sell-off after the run-up. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, with AVAX, that's the run-up as the bond money hits. And then look at that sell-off. Dude, do you want to sweat that? I don't even want to go through that, right? Like, one day we've got millions, and then the next day it's like we've got hundreds of thousands. It's not going to be fun, even though we know that it's going to come back around. So as an insurance against the blow-off top, and also for our own peace of mind, we could take some profit during the run-up, and then if there's a big downside, reinvest. So with our knowledge, I don't know if you were watching the video before of how the Fed will they'll call the money out of the market by paying attention to the bond cycle. And as long as we get a clean, flat distribution period, and they don't try any bond fake outs, like raising the rates 25 and then dropping them 50, which I don't believe they do. In fact, that's the next research that I'm going to do, is see if there's ever been any bond fake outs during a global liquidity distribution phase. And I don't think that they do. They'll just recall the cash back in. So we can hold up until then and get still a high price, a good price. So ideally, get rid of it all. But keep in your mind knowing that we can hold some of it until at least the Fed gives the call that they're going to start raising rates. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity to cash out huge before that. Now, to give the numbers that we're getting for projections right here, when the liquidity hits Kaspa, doing the price model, the $10, we're actually doing detailed accounting here. I've seen other creators come up with their $10 price models. We go a step farther. We're actually tracking the dollars, where they are, where they're coming from, whose hands they're passing through, and where they're going. And we're still getting $10 as a realistic price for Kaspa. So once we get this level of a payout, obviously we're just going to cash out. The real question is going to be about the run up. So yeah, bag the score when you've got it, man. When you got your score, just bag it. Good question. What we're going to do is we'll do the full price accounting model in hyper speed right now for everybody, so we can see what's going on, how we even came up with $10 Kaspa in the first place. We'll bring up our other website, which is the market cap of, just to help us as a handy calculator. Here we go. Here's how this works. What we're looking at is the previous cycle's all-time highs, the absolute peak. So Bitcoin, 1.2 trillion. It's the ratio to Bitcoin's market cap that is the first metric of our calculation. And we can see from Ripple to Litecoin and Matic, it's anywhere between 10% and 2% of Bitcoin's market cap. looking at the total amount of money in the world as we know it, this is also a iteration of the M2. They've been printing cash, not just in the United States. In 2023, it was 140 trillion with a 6% compounding. So by 2025, we're at 150, 160 trillion dollars. The last bull market, it was at 100 trillion. So there's 60% more cash on the street right now. To go into this equation, to top it off, we've now got the popularity of crypto, the Bitcoin ETFs. Everybody knows what it is now. The first number that we need to get is our Bitcoin price. And so we're going to keep this on the low. We're going to give the bearish Bitcoin price. Now, there's ways that we can do technical analysis using these repeating trend lines with angled Fibonacci pitches, which has been mind-bogglingly accurate on Kaspa. I mean, you got to admit, to call it like that, you know there's something really strong fundamentally there, and the concepts we can understand. Looking forward with these projections, we can easily see Bitcoin getting to 150,000, and that would just be double its previous all-time high. So we can all agree $150,000 per Bitcoin, realistic price peak. That gives us the market cap of $3 trillion. Now, we have to correlate a percentage of that market cap that Kaspa can get. And this is the kicker. And this is where we start to calculate in how much stable coins Kaspa's going to pick up, because that's their secret weapon. With the KRC20 inscriptions launching way ahead of schedule, what's going on behind the curtain is this. This is why BlackRock owns some of Marathon Digital. And so does Jane Street. In my opinion, the fact that Jane Street owns a share in Marathon Digital is even more bullish for Kaspa than BlackRock. Here's why. Jane Street, they're a huge VC and market maker. One of the most common misconceptions that we'll hear from the Peach Fuzz Mafia is, well, once the Binance listing happens or once Kaspa's listed on Coinbase, Coinbase will then buy Kaspa. That's in fact false. They may have a slice of the action, but Coinbase deals the business to market makers. They just facilitate the software for Jane Street to take their enormous pile of altcoins and let us trade on Coinbase. These guys own so much stablecoins. 50% of their bag is in USDT. And right now you're seeing massive, large corporations from Tesla, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. They're all picking up and owning USDT. They have it. It helps them, obviously, cross-border payments. You can see why. The granddaddy of stablecoins is running them on Ethereum. And we all know, slow, expensive. The new age, trendy, if you will, stablecoins was Solana. And we have multiple articles brought up. Solana is experiencing a surge among meme coin excitement. Because of all the meme coins, they have to be traded actively. Therefore, there's more stable coins on Solana active trading. And we can see that right in DeFi Llama. Here's the thing. This number was way bigger for Solana before that crash that happened recently. Solana hasn't solved the trilemma. We're inside a board meeting with Jane Street. Obviously, they would benefit drastically from the business model of running stable coins on Kaspa, as well as the peace of mind of security. Hence BlackRock, Jane Street, Visa, Tangent, it's all getting down to stable coins. That's going to be the huge catalyst for Kaspa. And this comes with smart contracts. They are already developing and building. Once this rabbit hole is opened, it's on. It's going to absolutely set Kaspa on a rocket ship to the upside. Here's why. We're in the board meeting with Jane Street. We have all the influence in the world. And now we want retail traders to run stablecoins on Kaspa because it's better for our business model. It's cheaper and faster than Ethereum. It's more scalable and safe than Solana. So we're going to use our influence as Jane Street to make sure these stablecoins are running on Kaspa. This is why they have their finger on the pulse of Kaspa through Marathon Digital. They're only mining 1%. They just want to get their hands on the project. Therefore, when we're starting to correlate this to what percentage Kaspa will get from Bitcoin's market cap, we've got to go a bit higher. We've got to say at least 5, right? At least 5. More likely it'll be 10 or even higher, particularly if we actually get the tokenization of carbon credits. That's a $400 billion market. If they just put 10% of that, that's 40 billion on chain, which would be 2% of Bitcoin's market cap. So there's so many scalable supersonic jackpots attached with Kaspa's growth, but just getting down to the bare minimum. So what we're looking for is an all-time high that would be 5%, which is of Bitcoin's future market cap, which is going to be 3 trillion. That would put it around 150 billion. So it would be like the all-time high of XRP if we get 5%. So we go Kaspa, XRP, all-time high, $5. And that would be if we just get 5%. You see where this is going? If we get 10%, which we're lined up to do, we're now in the double digits. And that's with Bitcoin at 150K. Yeah. So this is the most bearish scenario. There's going to be a whole new onslaught of Kaspa listings as the run-up goes. So remember, yeah, we are in early. And Nacho, if I was going to buy any of these Kaspa meme coins, I would probably get Nacho. It has name brand recognition. It's tied with Shy, who's been getting his name in the headlines a lot with publicity stunts. Remember, you guys have probably heard like, oh, he's saying this or saying that. Have you guys seen that movie Oppenheimer about the guy who built the atomic bomb? When you have these genius guys, they're often very political and they're very into stuff. So don't even worry about it. It comes with the territory when you're dealing with guys of that caliber intelligence. So, you know, BlackRock and Jane Street, they've already assessed that for what it's worth. So a lot of exciting stuff coming for Kaspa in the road, up and coming, and knowing the general and overall broader trends of the market, understanding the bonds and when this is all going to kick off, puts us at ease, knowing that the Kaspa team is, perhaps it's a coincidence, perhaps it's more timing, as they're getting ready for the bull market to start shaping up. Obviously, they don't want to release an example, smart contracts in a bearish market. They're going to wait until a juicy time in the market, right as this bond money is about to touch down and hit, right? Remember that February 20th thing? Boom, they start forcing the cash into the risk on markets. There it is a year later. Right there. And you can even see, there it is on AVAX. This is what happened on GameStop. Just to show you how it's everywhere. Boom. January 28th. So 20 days before the Bitcoin top, GameStop peaked. Just showing how potent this understanding is. So as this injection hits and touches down, Kaspa's in a great position to beef up and have an early and strong run-up phase and an even bigger distribution. And right now, based on this up-and-coming information that's been released by the Fed, how they're going to be holding rates down into 2027, all of our picks inside AI are leading the pack of 10,000 cryptos. If you reduce the market cap for everything 20 million and up, and this includes like weird meme coins that we've never even heard of. Our projects, our number one picks that we have reports on, they're in the top 100 out of 10,000 picks. It's Twilight Zone accuracy. And this is going to pay off huge as the bull run takes place. So thanks for checking out this stream, guys. We will catch you on the next one.